All right, let's jump right in. We all feel it, don't we? That constant, nagging pressure to perform, to win, to just get ahead. But what if I told you the real key to thriving in this hyper-competitive world isn't about pushing harder? What if it's about a complete shift in your mindset? Today, we're going to explore an ancient philosophy that might just be the perfect antidote to modern burnout. I mean, just look around. The business world today is, well, a mad race. It's this culture of intense, almost cutthroat competition fueled by what you could call a greed culture. In this race, the finish line, the result, is everything. And often, how you get there becomes secondary. I know, I know. That sounds totally backward, right? How on earth can you possibly succeed if you're not obsessed with the outcome? But stick with me, because this is the wild idea at the very heart of what we're talking about, and it challenges pretty much everything we've been taught about success. So, where does this wild idea come from? Well, we have to go back, way back. It comes from a concept rooted in ancient Indian philosophy, specifically from the Bhagavad Gita, and is called Nishkama Karma. It offers this incredibly powerful way to find peace and purpose in a world that just feels more and more chaotic. So what does Nishkama Karma actually mean? Let's break down the Sanskrit. It's pretty simple. Nish means without, kama means desire, and karma, well, that means action. You put it all together, and what do you get? Desireless action. It's the art of doing your work without being hung up on the results or what you're going to get out of it personally. Okay, desireless action. It sounds really noble, right? But this is usually where the idea hits a brick wall of skepticism. How does this actually work in the real world? You know, the one where we have bills to pay and families to feed? So let's just tackle that big, practical question head on. Exactly. Is this whole philosophy just a fancy way of telling us to forget about our paychecks and just work for free? Well, the short answer is a big, resounding no. And this next part explains exactly why. It's a really crucial distinction. See, Nishkama Karma isn't about ignoring our basic needs. Earning a salary to support your family? That's a necessary action. It's your duty. The philosophy is really targeting our ego-driven desires. You know, that craving for a higher salary just for the status symbol, or wanting a better car just to show off to the neighbors. It's the attachment to those extra fruits of our labor that really creates all the anxiety and pressure. This is the absolute core of the teaching from the Bhagavad Gita. And it's really a profound statement about control. Think about it. What do we actually have control over? Our effort, our focus, our actions. The results? Well, they're influenced by a million different things that are totally out of our hands. So the whole point is to focus our energy where it actually counts, on the quality of the work itself. And just to be crystal clear, this is not, I repeat, not an excuse to just sit back and do nothing. The text explicitly says that action is superior to inaction. So the key isn't to stop working, it's to fundamentally change why and how we work, to shift from being obsessed with the prize at the end to being completely dedicated to the process of getting there. Okay, so how does this ancient idea work beyond just our own personal mindset? Well, you'd be surprised. It has some stunning relevance in modern business strategy and even in leadership. This isn't just some personal philosophy. It can be an incredibly powerful model for running things. You know, in a world that changes by the minute, a rigid 5-year plan can be a total trap. A karmic strategy, on the other hand, is all about being adaptive. It focuses on constant experimentation and learning, embracing market changes instead of fighting them. It's about being so agile that you can, as some have put it, dance at the edge of chaos, ready to innovate at a moment's notice. And get this, there's actually data to back this up. Research has found a strong positive link between the principles of karma yoga, which is really the path of selfless action we've been talking about, and the key traits of great transformative leaders. Leaders who act for a purpose bigger than their own personal gain, well, they inspire way more trust, motivation, and creativity in their teams. They become true role models. So we've seen the impact on strategy and leadership, but maybe the most profound effects are on our own minds. This is where the philosophy really becomes a direct antidote to that stress and burnout we mentioned at the very beginning. This really breaks down the two paths you can take. On one side, you have Sakama Karma, or attached action. This is driven by external rewards, the bonus, the promotion, the praise. Chasing that stuff constantly, well, it almost always leads to stress and burnout. But then you have Nishkama Karma, or detached involvement. That's driven by an internal search for excellence. And that path leads to deep personal satisfaction and a kind of mental balance, or equanimity. You know, modern psychology actually has a name for this state of mind. It's called flow. It's that feeling you get when you're so completely absorbed in what you're doing that time just seems to melt away. The work itself becomes the reward. So this isn't just a spiritual idea, it's a documented state of peak human performance. So, here's the crucial point. Letting go of the results doesn't mean you get nothing. In fact, it unlocks this powerful paradox, one that completely flips our whole idea of achievement on its head. As the thinker Vinoba Bhave so brilliantly put it, when you give up that obsessive attachment to the fruits of your action, you don't actually lose them. Paradoxically, you often end up getting them anyway. So, how is that even possible? Well, it's because when you stop wasting all that mental and emotional energy worrying about the outcome, you free up so much bandwidth. You gain peace of mind, you slash your stress levels, you can then channel all that recovered energy into doing your absolute best, most focused, most creative work. You find real joy in the process itself, which feels better performance and, as a natural side effect, often leads to even better results in the end. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Imagine your work, your projects, your life. What could you accomplish? What could you create if your main motivation was simply the love of the work itself, totally free from needing the approval of others? What would you build if you focused only on the action and not the applause?